Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Power Hour. I am Steve, along with the urban sensation, Chicago legend. What more can you say about the man, the myth, the legend that is C Red? Hello, Red.
What's going on?
And we've got our director of media relations, I might be calling him at this point, PX from the LIM. Hello, Pac-Man.
Hello, hello, and I just want to say that I acknowledge my tribal liaison.
Yes, and we all acknowledge the tribal liaison. We're hoping that the head of the podcast, we will have time to acknowledge him a little later on in the show. He is not here yet, but he might be here soon, so we'll work on that. But tonight we're very excited to have the very prolific, the very traveled, the very charismatic, the very storied master of the Chicago Bear Hug, Rocket Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, the one, the only Steve Michaels on the show tonight. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Now, I'm not here to provide commentary about how you got to the RPW title. I'm not here to talk about you choke slamming news reporters and female managers. I'm not here to talk badly about you, at least for now. But we definitely want to talk about this incredible ride that you have been on at Rocket Pro, culminating in a very spirited match against Aaron Stone for the title at Rocket Pro Wrestling. So, first of all, before we get into that, Red always reminds me that too late that I forget to ask this question. Sometimes I ask it, sometimes I forget to ask it. But Red being here tonight make me remember to ask it. Wrestling didn't just show up in your life yesterday. Wrestling
Right.
has to have been there for a number of years. You're a longtime veteran, just like C Red is. So how did you get into it? What was that moment in time where you saw something, you heard something, you did something that you said, I'm all in, I'm gonna do this?
You know, we talk about, tribal liaisons and tribal chiefs and the bloodline, and if it wasn't for a member of that bloodline, I wouldn't be here today. As a fan, I went out to WrestleMania when it was out in San Francisco area, or yeah, I believe it was the San Francisco area, and ended up meeting Haku. I'm sorry, Afa of the Wild Samoans. And, you know, Afa has such a storied career. Uh, and he's done so much in the business, an absolute legend, WWE Hall of Famer. Um, and as a fan, I went to meet him. Um, and I wait in line with my buddy, get up to the front to get his autograph. And once I get to the front, he looks at me and he says, before I could even say anything, he just says, "Do you wrestle?" Uh, and that kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting that to be the conversation I was having at WrestleMania weekend with a Hall of Famer. And I said, "No, I don't know if I could cut it. It's a tough business, and I'm not sure if I've got what it takes." And he just smiled at me and he said, "You never know until you try." Um, and that really got my brain going. It got the gears turning. Um, Fast forward about 3 weeks to C2E2 in Chicago. I had, as a fan, I had a wrestling podcast, which was absolutely terrible. It was not the level of Power Hour. You know what I mean?
That's too
So,
kind, but you're way too kind. Don't
um,
put us in the same level as that. That's for sure.
but somehow we were able to convince C2E2 to give us media passes.
Oh wow.
And Tommy Dreamer just happened to be one of the guests that year. And growing up as a huge ECW fan, on our podcast, we always had a little bit of a fun segment called the Tommy Dreamer Moment of the Week, where we would go back in history and look at a crazy thing that Tommy did. So we were like, we got to interview him. So did a brief 5-minute interview with Tommy, and Tommy and I started talking afterwards. He and I were just BSing for a good 10 minutes before he stopped and he was like, by the way, I need to ask, do you wrestle? And I was like, it's funny, you're the second guy to ask me this month. Um, I'm thinking about it. And he said, uh, well, he was like, I used to be in charge of hiring the wrestlers. He was like, I was head of talent relations for WWE for years. And I was told at that time to hire guys that looked exactly like you. He's like, so if I was in that role, if you were a trained wrestler, right now I would be offering you a contract, no questions asked. And that is, yeah, it's a mind-blowing thing to be told as someone who watched wrestling for years, was a lifelong fan, to have someone be like, yeah, 5 years ago I would have hired you if you were a wrestler. And he was like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 28. I was 28 at the time. And he was like, start training now. He's like, you're gonna get to that upper end real fast, and um, you should get as much time as you can. And that was enough for me. I made the decision to pick up, and I moved to just outside of Orlando, Florida, um, that September. Um, so within 6 months, I had picked up roots here, gone down and fully committed, and started training at Team 3D Academy. Um, the things I learned from Team 3D, Bubba and Devon were um, really great teachers. Devon always treated me very well. Uh, Bubba's Bubba, but hell of a mind on the guy. Um, he he has such a mind for the business and such a mind for character and promos that he would, whenever he would come in, we would do promo day, and he would sit at his chair. We'd get in the ring. We'd cut a promo in whatever character we were thinking of doing, and he would just sit there and listen. And after we were done, he would be like, if we got good, then that was the equivalent of great. If we got decent, that was the equivalent of good. And if he just didn't say anything, that was never good. Um, but he would be like, okay, that was decent, but what if you did it like this? And then he would immediately cut the same promo back to us in our character, but better. Which is a really amazing talent for a wrestler to have, for anyone to have, to just kind of figure it out and just pick it up and nail it. He would do it for the men, he'd do it for the women. Um, and without fail, he would, like, he was such a great mind. Um, so after about a year and a half of training down there, um, I realized I wasn't progressing as much as some of the other students. Um, at that time, I'm a big boy. I'm legitimately 6'5", 350 pounds. I'm a big guy. Right around that time, Devon went back to WWE as an agent for NXT, and NXT was just about to start 205 Live. So NXT basically told Devon, hey, we need guys for 205 Live, and for the new cruiserweight tournament. And they started, progressing smaller guys more than me. And that's the business. That's the business sometimes. And it was my first real wake up to the realities that, hey, you can be doing your best. You could have the look, you could have the moves, but if somebody doesn't need you, then other people are getting that spot first. So I bet on myself, made a hard decision, and left Team 3D, went to a facility called Pro Wrestling 2.0, which was owned by former WWE talent from the early 90s, Alex the Pug Porteau. Um, he he did he had a minute down there, and now he was running owned this training school. Uh, but the head trainer there at the time was Jesus Rodriguez, and Jesus is better known to the fans as Ricardo Rodriguez. And a lot of people don't realize, because Jesus was used as a manager and as in a speaking role for WWE for years. Very talented wrestler, very talented luchador. Um, and truly one of the greatest minds I have ever met. Because he looks at everything so differently. Like, it's not always black and white to him. He realizes that there's gray areas, and he's like, he truly became a mentor to me at that time. Um, and within 2 months, I was working shows. They were like, you've got everything that you need. There's no reason you shouldn't be out on the road and getting your reps in. And yeah, started working for their company, and just it's been forward ever since, haven't looked back.
How old were you when you started?
When I started training,
Yeah.
I was 28.
Okay. So how many years do you have in the business at this point?
9 years. Oh, that's a I don't really think about it a lot, but it's 9 years.
Red, this is your specialty. I mean, obviously he is way outside my purview as far as experience goes, being where he's been. He's had kind of similar storylines that you have had. What do you think about what he said, and what would you add to it?
I wouldn't add anything. It's his story. I am shocked because, as you were telling the Bubba Ray promo way, I kept visiting him. I got it, you know. Good was great. Okay. Okay was good. And then you went to bad. And in my head, I can hear him clearly say, "What the fuck was that?" Like, I'm sure somebody caught that. I'm sure somebody caught that.
I heard that many a time from him.
So, and it's ironic, the way people look at you. People looked at Marche the same way. And I know this, being side by side for so many years. And then you brought up the 205, which for me is the infamous Mustafa Ali story. Because a lot of people don't know, like, he wasn't picked to be, in the tournament.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that 450, who is now Mecha Wolf, got injured and they needed a replacement. They called Ali. And hell, the rest was history for years. Him being on, one of the pillars of 205 Live, and being moving to the main roster when 205 kind of died. And, all the BS they put him through. But I think the biggest two compliments you got, impacted your life with Alpha and Tommy Dreamer. As you were telling your story, I don't know how many people from previous eras I've met. Jimmy Hart, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Armando Estrada. There have been a few, and everybody has asked me, "Why aren't you in the WWE?" And it's like, well, hell, they, he who doesn't be named got rid of managers. Like, what you want me to do?
I blame Teddy Long.
So
Brett,
I
you
can't
still,
make,
do you still send Teddy Christmas cards?
hell no, fuck that. I can't make them give me a job. All I can do is my job where I'm at. And if they decide to bring back their role, then that's fine. But I'm been happy where I've been. But to hear you say 9 years, I am shocked, bewildered, only because, bro, the way you move, you look like you've been doing this much longer. I know big guys. I know big guys. A lot of them are trash. And I'm gonna be honest, because everybody wants to be that big guy with the cruiserweight mentality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you're a big guy. Don't
You know,
stop. Go ahead.
it took me a long time, like in the grand scheme of things, it took me a short time to realize it, but I think kind of having the WWE system, the NXT system really early on, a year in, kind of thrown in my face as to, hey, this person started after you, but they're what they're, WWE's looking for. We're gonna put the time and the effort on them. I don't really talk about this much, but it got to the point where I would be there, I would do my cardio, I would do my training. I was doing core drills, and I was the guy that they were sending to when the new potential students came in to outdo them on core. I've never had an ab once in my life. But they'd have the CrossFit guys and the runners and the bodybuilders come in, and our personal trainer there, Dan Carr, who created American Gladiators, really just old school kind of mentality, old school like kind of Mick mentality from like Rocky, kind of like he trained boxers, he trained fighters for years. He'd be like, okay, let's see what you guys can do. And he'd have them just lay down, no bag on their chest. And he'd be like, Steve, you go with them. And he'd put a 75-pound bag on my chest. And I would be doing 200 at a clip. And these guys would be tapping out at 75. So I knew that I had something special and different that sure, maybe WWE wasn't looking for that right at the time, but someone will be. I've always believed on betting on yourself in my life and in my career. Sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it hasn't. But I don't like regrets. And I knew if I had stayed there, yeah, I would have had the potential to maybe get a look from NXT, maybe get some extra work, maybe get a dark match or be enhancement talent for somebody, but I knew I could do a lot more than that. But that's the system, and that's really the part that I don't think a lot of people talk about. I don't think a lot of people actually realize that that's the way things work sometimes. Is you could have all the talent in the world, you could be the best big guy there is, you could be the best cruiserweight there is, but if there's no spot for you, it doesn't matter.
Well said.
That's a hard truth for a lot of people too, because Rion has talked about it on this show many times. It takes a certain amount of ego and a certain amount of vanity to even come to the table in professional wrestling, because you have to believe it. You have to believe your hype to get in there and be a larger than life character. And that's what wrestling is, larger than life characters. So when you've succeeded on a local level, even a corridor like the Midwest or the East or the South, when you've become something big, but it never translates higher than that, a lot of people have a problem. A lot of people quit. A lot of people
It's a
go.
bitter pill.
It's a bitter pill. I find that those that can just hang on and keep doing what a great example of it was something that jumped out at us this past weekend at WrestleMania. You had two people that have been up and down their entire careers, win championships on the biggest show that wrestling has ever seen. And they're both old, like Red, like myself, like you are, a little bit older. They're not the young people, the typical archetype. Obviously Damian Priest is almost 40, and he got the push this weekend, and he's the champion now. That's an amazing testament to a guy that just burned it up on the indies forever and has been kind of, a character in the backdrop. I mean, obviously, the Judgment Day is a pretty big deal, but up until that point, until, Edge put that together, he was kind of doing, he was kind of in the backdrop, like Ricochet has been, like Mustafa Ali has been. They've been good characters, but they haven't really done much with them. And he's kind of hung on, and he's talked about it in various interviews that, he thought about giving up many times. He never did. He persevered, and now he's, rocking the championship, and, he's going to be a big deal going. I might not hold it very long, but at least he got there and was a premier player in the biggest night that the business has ever seen. And then you've got R-Truth, who has been mocked and joked about his entire career. Obviously when he was in WCW as Ron Killings, he was a little bit more serious, but he's kind of been a comedic wrestler for a long period of time, and he gets the laughs and he gets the pops, but now he's got a championship on the biggest night of wrestling we've ever seen. And he's, in his late 40s, early 50s. So these are guys that have hung around long enough to kind of make their way in on their own terms, which I think is great. And I think that could be you, because you're undeniable. And I don't mean that in the Rocket Pro Wrestling way. Your size, your speed, your power, they all speak for themselves. But what I am most impressed about you is the way you carry yourself from the minute you get there until the minute you leave. 3-piece suit, sitting down, talking to everyone. Doesn't matter who it is, fan, worker, custodian, people that work in the office. You have one way about you, and that is 100% professional. I remember the first time I met you was at Chicagoland Championship Wrestling at that premiere show. You came out and you were there, and I think you were helping Bullard at the time, because I think the advertised talent didn't make it, and they put you in the main event because
I was supposed to agent that entire show.
That's right.
And then I get there and he's like, yeah, so and so isn't getting back to me. I haven't heard from him. Do you have gear? And like, yeah, I always have gear with me. He was like, cool, you're in the main event now. And it's like, okay, but that's the business.
Right. And that was my first time seeing you work and meeting you. And I was immediately struck by how I didn't have to go to you. You knew I was on commentary. You came to me and you told me everything I need to know. And that is stuck with me all these years as one of the most professional things I've ever seen. And then now that you're at Rocket Pro and we've been working together for a minute now, every time I sit there, I get there early and I stay late and I people watch a bunch, because you never know what you're going to see and never know what you're going to learn. Usually after a Rocket Pro show is when Marshe Rocket gets on his pulpit and starts talking about the business, and you can never learn too much from a guy like that. But I see you doing the same thing. You're mentoring the young guys. You're always there to have a conversation. And when you leave after you've sweat and broke your ass in that ring, you're in a suit, you're professional, shaking hands from start to finish. And I'm absolutely impressed with the way you carry yourself. And I think that is a lost art form, because I think when people show up, they do what they do, they take their paycheck and they leave. You're there for all of it, and you're present in the moment. And I wish more people in this business were present in the moment like you. You have respect for yourself in this business, and you show it every step of the way in everything that you do, your body language, your posture, the way you carry yourself. And if that doesn't translate to the bigger stage, then I don't know what is, because you see those people walking in, they have the candid shots, and they're in track suits and this, that, and the other thing. You're rocking a nicer suit than I've ever owned in my life, and you're just showing up to put the tights on to go to work.
Right.
So I've
Well, I
always,
mean, and
yeah,
that's the key though, is this is, I think a lot of people, a lot of the younger wrestlers, um, I don't want to, I don't want to say that they don't take it serious, but they don't treat it as their job. This is my job. This is my career. I'm a professional wrestler. I may not go to an office and, have to sit in a cubicle for 12 hours. My cubicle is that locker room. So I'm going to show up there just like anyone else would for work. I'm going to wear a suit. I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to be there if anyone needs help. And, you know, I'm still learning, 9 years, I still consider myself green. Um, you know, I'm still learning a lot, but I have done things on a level that not a lot of people have had the opportunity to do with OVW. I've had the opportunity to work television. I've had the opportunity to work pay-per-views. I've had the opportunity to sit under Al Snow's learning tree and Doug Basham's learning tree, and uh, Jesse Goddard's and EC3. I've been able to learn from those guys. Um, so if I'm able to pass on a little bit of what I have seen and what I have learned and what I've observed to someone that's younger, someone just getting a start, someone that hasn't been to that level yet, I'm more than happy to do it. And I'll always say, look, I'm not the biggest star in the world, but I've seen enough to know, hey, this works, this doesn't work, this is how you perform. Um, from the way I show up all the way to talking to you, Steve, before the show, uh, to talking to camera guys. A lot of people don't talk to the camera crew and be like, hey, I got this big dive spot. Make sure you catch it. Because, it's great for the people in the building, but if it goes on YouTube, if it goes on iPay-per-view, if it goes on Fight, Triller, whatever it's called now, and
Thrill.
and the camera doesn't get it, you did it for nothing. Um, so yeah, it's just small things that I've learned, and I treat it like my job, and that's really all it is.
I can't tell you how helpful it is to commentary when you give us a heads up on something that's coming, not just so we don't miss it, but so we can frame it properly. It's
Yes.
all about telling the story and putting it in the proper context. One of the great moments in my commentary career over the last 11 years was the message you sent me after we called that match.
Yeah.
It took,
I meant it.
it took you a few minutes to drop that very, very something that I've saved and printed and that I actually carry with me on my person. It's always good to have something like that to recharge your batteries when they're a little bit low, that kind of commentary. But we would not have been there if you didn't tell us where you were going and what you were going to do so we could put it in the proper context. So,
Yeah.
the only reason it happened as well as it did is because you clued us into what you wanted. And
Yeah.
that's what we do at commentary. We're telling your story while you're writing your story. And if we know what you intend and what you want, it makes us that much more effective. And, I take pride in the Rocket Pro table because I think we are as good of storytellers on commentary. Maybe not Blackburn, because I'm pissed at him right now. I'm gonna single him out. But since they brought Red to that commentary table, I would put us up against everybody because we have better chemistry than I think just about anybody out there. And Red is one of the great storytellers I've ever been around. So when you have the two of us, as long as we know what's coming, with Red with all of his experience and me with my big mouth, we are going to find where it needs to go and we're going to put it there. But we couldn't have done that without you cluing us in and then doing it so we could talk about it. So it really is everybody working together to make the product great. And again, that's why, I would work with you anytime, any place, anywhere, because you understand the larger picture. And I'm not sure everybody in the business does.
Yeah, and it was something that Al Snow just hammers into our brains every single show, every TV taping, every pay-per-view. Hey, if you've got a big spot, if there's something that you really want to get over, go to your announcers. You let them know exactly what the story you want told, and you let them know exactly what you're thinking so that they can then present that to the greater masses. Because, and what I said to you is true. You're a phenomenal announcer, and the way that the announce team worked for that segment, um, you know, you knew when to the whole crew knew when to be quiet and let things just happen. They knew when to you guys knew when to emphasize when something heinous happened. You knew how to make that big moment something that was gigantic. Um, and it's one of the things that I try and tell younger talent is like, hey, make sure you're going to your commentary because they're the ones that are going to make you on YouTube. They're the ones that are going to make you on Triller. Like that's, you could do all the moves in the world, but if they don't understand what story you're telling, then none of it matters, and that's the reality.
Red, we were just talking about professionalism and I kind of give you a lot of credit for teaching me that aspect many years ago when we first started working together at Crash Tested. Professionalism, I always wore a suit and I always thought that was important at commentary. Not every commentator does, but I always thought it was important because Jim Rosso, for the most part, wore a suit. They always looked like they were professional and ready to. There was an elegance to it, and I always wanted to purvey that because my heroes did it. So when I did it, you and I had a conversation. Well, you always wear a suit. I think that's good, and you explained to me what being professional meant. You probably don't even remember this. This was so long ago, but it sticks with me. And that's why I'm happy to be doing this show with you now, all these years later, is because I don't think I would have lasted as long if I hadn't learned the lessons about professionalism from you, way back in 2015 and 16. So we were just talking with Steve about professionalism. You see him at every Rocket Pro show. You know what I'm talking about. Talk to us a little bit about that professionalism and what that means.
I mean, I think Steve, no pun intended, wrong Steve, the champ, let's go there. He hit it on the head. How many times have you been to a show or part of a show, I should say, and guys show up, t-shirts, shorts, flip-flops, but yet you'll come up to me and ask me, what do I need to do to make a better, to make myself better? Like, really? Did you just walk up with some flip-flops and some cutoff jeans and a t-shirt? Like, I won't take you seriously. I really won't. When you go, depending on your job, I'll put it that you dress for success. So I work with kids, students, young adults. Let me change that. But I also work with animals. So I had to adapt my clothing because I'm not wearing dress shirt, dress slacks, and then got to deal with rabbit poo and guinea pigs. And no, not dealing with all of that.
Stop talking about Blackburn.
My bill would be outrageous. And like you pointed out, Steve, when the champ walks in the building every show, and you know he was taught this, you dress for success, you dress for where you want to be. Now, I can admit, do I do it? No, I don't. But my reason is, and it might sound goofy, but if I got to put on a suit later and wear that suit all night long, I'm not going to wear one suit to the building and then wear another suit to go perform in and sit there on. Nah, too many suits, too many suits.
Those dry cleaning bills are up there, boy, I'll tell you.
Not only that, but then I know I'm going to forget something from one suit, whether it's a belt, matching socks, a shoe, I'm going to forget something. So for me, again, I'll bring my suit so I can get into my suit. But I was taught the same thing. A lot of times I used to just wear my suit to the shows because professionalism. But a lot of these young people forget, oh, I'm a pro wrestler. Okay, let's extend the word pro. And what's the real word? Professional. I mean, let's be honest. Have you guys seen anybody go for job interviews lately? I have. White t-shirts, jeans, and clean gym shoes. What? Huh? I kid y'all not. I saw a lady interview at my job. She had on scrubs. And I get that she was going to her job after the interview, but I'm like, you could have wore a nice dress for the interview, went to the bathroom, put on your scrubs, and then left. Your first impression, you get one. That's why it's called first. So if I got money and this Saturday I walk into Rocky Pro, who do you think I'm gonna hire? The people that look like professionals, the people that carry themselves as professionals, because I can get everything else out there. So big kudos to Steve for keeping professionalism going. Now some guys got their own idea, and that's fine. I don't knock anybody, especially after you've been in the business for a certain amount of years. I'll be damned if I tell you how to dress. I'm not. But to these younger cats, they didn't think they done been in 3 years and, I done held the junior title at this company. I'm the shit. No, yeah, you the shit. Just not in the way you think. Nobody's gonna hire you. I can't, Steve always likes to poke the bear. NWA superstar. I'm not.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, you were there. You were managing at NWA. I saw
But
it.
when I went, I didn't dress like a bum. And I would kind of like to think in my mind. I walked in, I thought I was professional. And I've told this story, Steve might know it, but not here. And there was another guy from some other city. He had flew in just to do the show. And he's got on a Hawaiian shirt, flip-flops, and shorts.
Was it Koa? Just kidding, Koa.
Again, if it was co-op, guess what? Fits his gimmick, right?
100%. I was just joking.
But this guy didn't. And he kept trying to figure out, and it was funny because then they kept saying, well, if you don't have your credentials, you won't be allowed down here, yada, yada, yada. And I kept looking at the guy like, oh, okay. And he goes and says, well, I'm going to go get changed and I'll be back. And I said, okay, I'll see you in a minute. Didn't see him the rest of the night. He didn't get on the show. And I felt bad because I was like, wow, you flew all the way in for this?
He didn't have credentials. For
No,
that night only,
but-
the CNC Red stood for credentials.
But I'm thinking, was it the way you presented yourself? You know, did you present yourself in a professional manner where not just the owner, but everybody that works for the owner saw you and said, not our type of guy?
You know, it's interesting you say that because I did I've had the honor of doing some work TNA over the past couple years. And just anytime they're coming to Chicago, I get to help with that. And there have been many a time where someone shows up, isn't professional, extras, like guys on the independent level that are looking to make it and want to be the star, but they're showing up and they're not acting like stars. And so they get removed, like they are not welcome back, you know. And there have been times where you know, I've been reached out to personally when I was like, hey, there's something going on. And you know, I know Daniel Spencer, who's the head ref over there. He's the head ref down at OVW as well. And like, hey man, like there's some sideways stuff going on. And he's like, okay, you're in charge. Go deal with it. And I was like, okay, like, but that's the professionalism. That's people understand that they can count on me to do those things and be a professional every step of the way. And I wish more people would learn that. I try and lead by example. Like I'm never going to run someone down if they're showing up in, you know, a t-shirt and, you know, and like sweatpants. But at the same time, I can show up to every show regardless of where I'm at on the card. Main event, mid, opener, doesn't matter. You know, even when I travel, I pack my suit in my gear bag. I fold it up, pack it in my gear bag, get to the hotel, iron it out, still go to my show. Whether it's Florida or Texas, Hawaii, Alaska, like I brought a suit to all those. And, you know, some of those places are like, yeah, we don't really do that here. And I'm like, no, I get that. And I understand that. And I respect that. But that's a me thing. It's a me thing. And I feel more comfortable in my suit, showing up in my suit, being a professional, than I do just showing up in shorts and a t-shirt. You know, I wish more people would take the non-wrestling aspects of the business more serious. I was on a show once with Cody Rhodes, and Cody uh always in a three-piece suit. Always, like, that's not a gimmick. That's him. That's legitimately him. Uh Main event of the show, only had the three-piece suit, broke the ring down in his suit. And if Cody Rhodes can do that, if someone who's at that top level, because at that time he was doing stuff with AEW. If Cody Rhodes can do that, there's no reason anyone everyone else on the show shouldn't be able to put in a little bit of work.
And now here you are, Rocket Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion. And the champion of Rocket Pro, I think, is a special thing because of what Rocket Pro is. And month after month, the fans' loyalty, they come out and they represent. And we're playing to 300, 400, 500 people. And they go crazy and they have their favorites and they have the people they don't like. You are the guy at Rocket Pro right now. You are that guy. And that is a banner that you have taken seriously and you carry with great respect. I've seen the posts of you with the belt. Obviously, you traveled to Hawaii to defend the Rocket Pro title. To my knowledge, that might be the first time the Rocket Pro title has been defended outside of Joliet, which I
It
think
is.
is an amazing, amazing fact. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But you've worked obviously OVW. I mean, that is a huge place to work. You've done the stuff with Impact. You've done stuff all over the place. Tell me what Rocket Pro Wrestling means to someone like you who is so well traveled and is accustomed to playing, in front of big crowds with famous people.
Yeah, and I've told this to Bill, I've told this to Shelly, I've mentioned this to Will. Rocket Pro Wrestling is my home. Rocket Pro has treated me amazing since day one. They have um, done everything possible to treat me well, to treat my family well. They it's I've had the luxury and the privilege of wrestling for a lot of companies across the country, and in other countries as well. Uh, Rocket Pro Wrestling is one of the best companies I have ever been a part of. Um, the ownership is willing to spend the money to make the upgrades that to make the show better. The locker room is it's one of the best locker rooms I've ever been a part of. Um, it's a top three locker room I've ever been in. Um, because everyone wants to help each other. The guys at the top want to see the guys below them reach that level. Everybody wants to see each other succeed. And if somebody doesn't want to see somebody succeed, if there is some bad apples, if there is some drama, then the reality is that they're not going to be around for a long time. And Red, like you've been around the business for a long time. That's a rare thing because a lot of times these guys that cause the drama just kind of stick around and they weasel their way around, and you just can't get rid of them.
Yeah. Don't get me started, Steve.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen it. We've all seen it, and but Rocket Pro is very different. It's like they're pulling the curtain back a little bit. There have been times where I've gone to the owners and been like, "Hey, like, it's your company, I get it, but I'm not sure about this person. And if you want to keep them, that's on you, and that's fine, and it ends there, and I won't bring it up again. But my 2 cents on this." And they listen. They actually are willing to listen, to make the company something special. Um, I've gotten to wrestle for different companies in the Chicago area, and I tell everyone, and I don't say it with hyperbole. Rocket Pro, in my opinion, is the best company going in the Chicago area, in the Chicagoland area, bar none. Um, and that's my opinion on it. There's a lot of other companies doing a lot of great work, but man, Rocket Pro's real special. And to have the opportunity to be the RPW heavyweight champion, to uh, be the face of the company now, to be the guy that's carrying that banner, it means a lot to me, and it's not something that I take lightly. And look, wrestling titles are props. And that I know that rubs some people the wrong way to hear that, but the titles are props, uh, to build the company and to build stars and to elevate stars and to elevate wrestlers and to do all of that. And with that being said, for them to be like, hey, we're giving this to you so you can run and make this company even bigger, that's a very special feeling. And I'm extremely grateful. I've been with W for what, 3 years, 4 years now. Um, and it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to continue on it.
You and me both when it comes to that. It's a really, really special place, and it is a locker room that makes you wanna elevate. When you work with people that make you want to do better, I think that's what made, and I think that's what makes it so special.
Yeah.
And since you've been RPW champion, we have seen you on the news where you're choke slamming anchors. Can we can we
Yeah.
can we please figure out what the hell is going on here?
Hey, I didn't know I was gonna do that until I got to the studio. And that's legit. They everyone at WGN was so amazing. They were um so welcoming, and they were just game to just kind of make it a fun segment, and to put me over, to put the company over. And um I had a lot of fun doing it. It's not every day you get to uh body slam a news anchor on live TV.
And right there in that picture, you're about to choke slam a man that played Jesus Christ at Easter.
Yeah, I mean, but that was before he was Jesus, so it's
Okay,
it's
got it.
not bad.
So
Yeah.
it's not a sin as far as it, because he wasn't Jesus then.
Yeah,
There,
exactly.
there he's Jesus.
Yes, he is not
On
the
Easter,
Messiah
he
in
was
that picture.
right,
The
right.
the crazy thing is, the that Instagram reel was my most liked Instagram reel, bar none. I think it has over like 60,000 views on a 10-second clip of me just choke slamming him, which is insane.
You got some mileage out of that one, and Jesus gets no Aztec ammunition gets no residuals on that one either.
Yeah, I mean, I put him over. I put him over as his Wrestle League champ, and then I choke slammed him through the floor. So
As you do.
sorry.
How
Yeah.
did they come up to you? Did the small female news anchor come up to you and say, choke slam me? Because not the greatest request in the world for anybody.
Yeah, honestly, that's pretty much how it worked. Um, I got to the studio. All I knew was that I was gonna demonstrate some moves with him, and I was like, I got there, and she was like, "Hey, so, um, can you like, can you teach me how to do a move?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I could show you how to do the bear hug. Like that's easy." And she was like, "No, no, no. Like, can you like give me a move?" And I was like the bear hug, because in my mind, I don't want to injure the news anchor who's untrained,
And I definitely don't want to get sued by WGN for putting their news anchor out. And she was
It
like,
would have been hilarious, by the way. Not that you wish that on anybody, but boy, what a shitstorm that would have been.
yeah. And so I was like, she was like, no, like what about like the body slam? Because when I got there, I gave a list of what I was going to be doing. She's like, can you give me a body slam? And Shogun was there. Chris Logan was there. And for those that don't know, Shogun is a wrestling trainer. And I remember I looked over at Shogun and I was like, can we do this? And he was like, yeah, we can do this. And he literally within 5 minutes was like, hey, this is how you got to do it. This is how you land. This is the full deal. And she was a gamer. I give her a lot of credit for that. She went all in and was willing to just take the move. And if you watch that, she's so well protected. It's the lowest I've ever slammed somebody because I'm like, I don't want to hurt you.
I don't want to break you, news anchor.
Yeah. Um, but like, I mean, it was a good segment because I mean, like, I didn't know she took it once from me. The other anchor just started laughing hysterically, and she was like, maybe like do one more, and then I'll feel comfortable. And the other anchor was like, nah, save it for live TV. It'll be better that way. So she had only taken two body slams, one from Shogun and one from me, before we went live. And then the segment happened, and it was fun. I give her a lot of credit for just being like, yeah, let's do it.
Sometimes you got to be game in the moment, and sometimes the moment is good, sometimes the moment is not good. Fortunately for all involved in that episode, it was a good time, not a bad time.
Yeah, hey man, it was
There's
money
nothing
in the
like a
pocket.
broken pelvis to ruin a news segment, right?
Yeah, it ended up being a lot of money in the pocket, so I can't complain about it at
Can't
all.
complain
I'm
about
very
that.
happy for it.
Let
So
me say that WGN is so awesome. Uh, a lot of people don't know WGN has supported the Chicago wrestling scene for years. For years. They used to, I did two with Windy City, and then I did one with Resistance Pro. So they have always been supportive. And I just think that's pretty freaking awesome. We don't see that on any other station. Yeah, they bring in the big stars like they did the past week for Mania, but locally, WGN supports Chicago. So to have you on, and we all watched it,
and we're so proud.
right? Like you made us like, yeah, all right, we're not a bunch of lame ducks sitting around. Okay, they know not to mess with us. All right, but congratulations, and I hope that more eyes consistently stay on you.
Thank
Seeing like, hey, okay, and I hope you helped us out by selling a couple of tickets this Saturday. People are like, oh, well, he was in the suit. Well, let's see when he's not in the suit. So,
Well, and that was the coolest thing is I remember uh before the show, I'm always at my merch table before the show. And fans are coming in, and I can't tell you how many uh fans that showed up were like, hey, we didn't know this existed. We saw you on WGN, we decided to come out. Or like, hey, you were the guy from WGN, like that's so cool. Like we came out because of you. Um, so that's what the business is really about. right? It's no matter where you are at on the card, it's about building up the product. It's building yourself, and it's building the product and making yourself an attraction. And I tried my best to do it there, and it was successful. We we put a lot of butts in seats that night.
Your
That's what
charisma
it's
was
about.
off the chain in that interview. I thought it not only did it make you look strong and badass, but it also gave you an air of humanity because you're just this guy that does this job. Uh, Although it's grand and it's spectacle, you're still just a guy, you know, happy to be where he is and happy for an opportunity. And it resonated through the screen. That's what was so magical about it. And then you took that Rocket Pro title that you've only had for a little while and decided, I'm taking this bad boy out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean to the land of Hawaii to defend it. How
Yeah.
does that happen? Do you have to get permission? Are you like, I'm Steve motherfucking Michaels. I'm taking this belt wherever I go. It's my belt. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Little column A, little column B. If I'm being honest. Um, there was so when I won the title, I made it very clear that my goal for my championship reign is to elevate this title to being the most prominent title in Chicago. Regardless of what I have to do, whether it's just in the city, if it's just at RPW, or if it's defending it elsewhere. And the owners and the bookers were very much on board. And I had been working for Oos Wrestling for like 2 years now. It's again, they're a Samoan dynasty company. They treat me real well. And I was like, at most at the very least, I'm gonna bring the title with me to this show, get some shots on the beach, elevate the fact that, this is a champion lifestyle, right? So get to the show, um, and talking with Alecki, who's the owner, and he was like, "Hey, you got your title on you?" Yeah. He was like, "Do you want to defend it?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I do." And reached out to the bookers here at PW, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, this is happening tonight. Um, and I'll give you the photos and videos once I get it, but I'm gonna be defending the RPW title um in Hawaii." Um, and they were all for it. Um, and for me, um, I'm a wrestling history guy. I'm a big fan of professional wrestling history. I study it, and I love reading about it. Knowing the history of professional wrestling on the islands, which I think a lot of people came a lot more aware of after the Hall of Fame ceremony. Um, Back in the day, for those that don't know, um, the best wrestlers and the best champions in the world would be brought in to Hawaii to defend their titles on the island. And for me, again, as a history guy, that felt like an homage to those days gone by of, hey, I'm the champion here in Chicago. I'm going to go to the island. I'm going to defend it on the island, and I'm going to come back home with my title. And elevate, like I said, elevate the level of this brand and elevate the level of the RPW Heavyweight Championship. So for me, um, it was a very cool opportunity. I'm very grateful for Oos and RPW for both being on board with this. Um, and you never know where Steve Michaels is going to defend his RPW title, um, because I'm everywhere, and uh, I'll take on anyone.
And now this Saturday, in just a few days, that Rocket Pro title will be on the line again as you and the Dream Breaker, Aaron Stone, once again do your thing as part of the dual main event that's happening at spring break. It's the penultimate show of the season. Obviously, Kicks at 66 is the season finale, but this is a pretty big show. It was last year. It sets the table for everything that happens next month, and this is a pretty big return match. You guys tore that shit up the last time, and I can't imagine this is going to be any different.
Yeah, look, Aaron Stone is a hell of a wrestler. He was a hell of a champion. But Steve Michaels is better. And that's the reality. Like it's hurt him to hear that, but that's the reality. Steve Michaels is a better wrestler, and I have the title to prove it. So with Damian Sade in my corner, the outcome's going to be the same. That's the reality. That's the reality. And truth be told, you could remove everybody else from that building. The outcome will be the same. Steve Michaels is just a better wrestler. Steve Michaels is a better professional wrestler than Aaron Stone. There's no lie.
I'm not gonna say that doesn't hold some truth. I mean, your legacy and where you've been and what you've done speak for itself. His legacy speaks for itself. There's the undeniable.
Yeah.
And that's my qualm with what you've been doing in that building of late. You are a man that I have watched destroy people by yourself. Doesn't seem like you need a goon squad to be on your side helping you get the job done. I've seen you get the job done everywhere. Kind of feel like maybe, your strength in numbers campaign kind of takes away from the master of the Chicago Bear Hug in just a little way.
I understand you saying that, but I learned a very long time ago, sometimes you need to work smarter and not harder. And if there's some advantages I can take, I'll take them. Because the reality is, I don't need them. I don't need the undeniable. The undeniable needs me. The undeniable has needed Steve Michaels from the start. And if you look at him, guess what? Everything is clicking as one for a change ever since Steve Michaels joined the undeniable. That's the truth.
That actually is a fairly accurate statement. And what you said speaks volumes. I mean, work smarter, not harder. I've heard that many times, but I'll take your work smarter, not harder, and I'll raise you. If you dance with the devil, eventually you have to pay the band. And Damian Saint is the devil.
Damian Saint is a demon. I am the real devil.
Red, he said he's the devil, Red. Help me out here, man.
What you want me to do? Come down like HBK? Oh no, sorry. What you want me to again,
Red, I hear you on
agree.
commentary too. You are not okay with what the undeniable's been doing. You got
First
the man
of all,
here.
I'm not.
I'm going at him. You're just gonna leave me twisted in the wind.
Yes, always. Again, I agree with my partner in the sense that we've seen you. I get it. Work smarter, not harder. Like, dude, you could break everybody in that locker. So
And I have.
and you have, but there's no sense in the shenanigans. And I'm all about shenanigans.
You invented shenanigans.
Right. I did. I wrote the book.
The only person that doesn't like your shenanigans is Teddy Long.
Fuck Teddy Long. So I I'm going to take your answer. You know, I don't like it because, like you said it, the undeniable need you.
That's true.
And my just personal opinion, please don't punch me in the face. I just think they're using you. That's just me, especially Saint, because now he's got somebody. You know, if I decide to run out, punch Saint in the face, well, I know I got to go through you. See, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
See,
The
Damian
rest of
Saint
it,
opened my eyes.
okay,
Damian
well,
Saint opened
open
my
eyes.
eyes.
Open eyes.
See, he showed me a new way. See, Steve Michaels, everyone sees Steve Michaels as just a monster. And if you've been watching this episode, it's very clear that Steve Michaels isn't a monster. See, Steve Michaels is a lot more than that. And Damian Saint is helping me harness that. Damian Saint is helping Steve Michaels excel far beyond what the Steve Michaels you have seen is. Damian Saint has given Steve Michaels the opportunity, and I would argue that if it wasn't for Damian Saint, Steve Michaels might not necessarily have the RPW title today. So I owe Damian Saint a lot, but Steve Michaels is just as dangerous as he's always been.
That is 100% accurate. I can't argue with anything you just said. Let's shift gears real quick to something that is near and dear to your heart, especially now since the new film is out. I've been dying to ask you about it. You are part of
Okay.
what Red? Did I miss you? Did you have something, Red?
Loving it.
Okay, so the Windy City Ghostbusters,
Yes.
one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Charitable, helpful groups around, collecting food drives, clothing drives. You know, the Windy City Ghostbusters are always out there in search of making humanity a better place. And
Absolutely.
we have seen you work and we have seen them there. And, you know, obviously this is a great time to be a Ghostbuster because the new Ghostbuster, the next generation of Ghostbusters films seem to be, you know, doing pretty well. I have not yet seen Frozen Empire, but I was a big fan of Afterlife. I love nostalgia and I love the way that kind of stuff makes me feel. But the charitable acts that the Ghostbusters do, is my main point here because I feel like sometimes we could be better people if we gave more of ourselves. And you know, you're out there doing your wrestling thing and you're traveling around the world and you're doing all this stuff, but you still have time to sit in Ecto One and help somebody in need. Talk about the Windy City Ghostbusters. For those watching that don't know what it is, speak about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the Windy City Ghostbusters were a 501c3 recognized charity organization. And what we do is we dress up like the Ghostbusters to raise money for the La Rabida Children's Hospital. The La Rabida Children's Hospital is on the south side of the city, and they do a lot of work with specialty cases. They do a lot of work with lower class families, underprivileged families, and they do some amazing things that you know, and they help people that you know may not have gotten the help otherwise. Um, I've been lucky to do multiple hospital visits with the Windy City Ghostbusters to La Rabida, to do room visits. To uh, this year was our second time doing a La Rabida Children's Hospital Christmas toy drive, which we collected 1,300 toys for the children, and we're also able to donate $8,000 as well to the hospital. So we're doing a lot of really great stuff. We're doing a lot of things to help the community because at the end of the day, you know, we're only as good as what we're able to give back. And uh I'm, you know, Steve Michaels aside, um I'm I very much love giving back to the community, love giving back to those in need. Um and I'm very proud of what the Ghostbusters have been able to do um to help out our community, our local community, because you know the money we raise isn't going to, you know, to nebulous charities where you don't know exactly what's getting and who's getting what. You know, I this past Christmas, I I personally delivered with 6 other Ghostbusters all of these 1,300 toys to the hospital, and to see the look on the hospital staff's face when we roll up with uh, an ecto full of toys and a trailer um, filled with toys. And they're like, we don't have space for all of this. We got to put them into storage like units. Like that's a really cool feeling. So I'm grateful for what we get to do and what Windy City Ghostbusters gets to do, and um, everything we're able to do for the Children's Hospital.
It really is amazing. It's an amazing thing, and it's amazing people doing amazing things. And I hope, if nothing else tonight, I mean, people will tune in because they know who you are as a wrestler, they know what you do. But I hope they get a chance to see who you are as a man, because as a man, you are a very good man. And in 2024, in a world that has gone absolutely crazy, it is only by the work of good men that we are going to find a way to get through all the crap that's going on there. So, on behalf of everybody here, on behalf of everybody at Rocket Pro, you're a good man, and we would not be as good as we are without the good man that you are. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. You know, and if people are watching this and they're interested in the work that we're doing, uh, or want to make a donation, uh, we don't keep any of the money. We don't get a salary from it. Everybody, every member of the team is 100% volunteer. All the money we raise goes straight to the hospital. Um, we don't have like administrative costs. We don't have, you know, our board of directors isn't getting paid. Like it all goes straight to the hospital. So if people want to make a donation to the hospital via our team, they can do so at windycitygb.com, and that will take you straight to our link tree, and you can make the donation.
It is a charitable situation that I have witnessed firsthand doing amazing things. Part of the toy drive happened at Rocket Pro at Christmas Chaos, and that bin was full as hell with stuff. So I know your impact in Joliet has been felt. And again, we talk about professionalism, we talk about all of this, but inside professionalism, if there is a goodness, then that is the total package. And you hear all people talk, he's the total package, she's the total package. You, my friend, have proven without a shadow of a doubt that you are the total package. And we're blessed to have you as part of Rocket Pro. Everybody knows it, and hopefully someday the world knows it.
Thank you. You know, and you know, you talk about, you know, Rocket Pro having the toy drive drop off box. Um, Again, to circle back to how great our locker room is, how great the Rocket Pro locker room. There were wrestlers that came in with boxes of toys and were like, these are to donate. And you know, to see the locker room supporting me through this charity, to support the charity, um you know, to see the owners um you know, working with us to do a raffle for merchandise, and then you know the boys in the back, me being like, hey, can you donate an 8x10? Can you donate a shirt? And the boys being like, yeah, absolutely, what do you need? um that says a lot about the crew and the locker room at RPW. And again, why I say it's truly family, why it's home, and why it's the best locker in Chicago.
Red, we have kept this fine gentleman for way more than an hour, but it wouldn't be the power hour without Red and his roses. So, Red, if you please, give this man some roses.
But red ones or black ones? I don't
Whatever you need to give, my friend.
know. Steve, I kind of told you how I felt the last time we were together in person. And like my counterpart, it goes back to us meeting in Chicago. And I was so impressed by the way you carried yourself. And I was like, okay, this guy's. Now, I'm not gonna lie, let me go back a little bit. I was kind of pissed because so I was supposed to agent, and I didn't know we were both agents.
I didn't
So-
know either.
So it wasn't until you were like, well, I'm agent. Well, I was told I was agent. And then Bullet said that we were both agents. And the chaos ensued because your matches were on that side, my matches were on that side. And the funny part, if you want to say, is I was so used to being on the side that you were on that I'm like, well, I don't want to be over here. I'm used to being over there. I want to be over there. But
For that.
I have found you to be that guy, as Steve has said. Like, to see, and I'm not trying to pump your ego or your head, but there's always a crowd around you when I see you. And yes, they're paying for your shirt. Yes, they're paying for a buy 10. Yes, they're buying merchandise. But there is a crowd. There's a reason why people are investing in you because of who you are. Because they already paid to get into the show. Everything else is a bonus. So when they pay to buy your merchandise, that's a testament to you, sir. Again, I've seen you talk to people. People, show over with. It's time to go home. Like, we get out at a good hour. We can all get home with fairly decent hour. But you stick around and you talk to everybody. And again, shows the man you are. And I already knew what you guys did. I didn't know how much you guys did at the Toy Drive. But isn't it a wonderful feeling? So 2 years ago, I did the same thing. And not to make it about me, but I took what I had and I donated it to the church that I was supposed to. And instantly, the pastor told me that 5 minutes before I walked in, a mother had called and said she had no gifts for her 6 kids and was wondering if the church was doing a toy drive or a giveaway. And they weren't. And I thought they were. So that's why she donated all 4 of those bags to that family and that mother. And dude, I cried. I did IPW that day.
I remember that.
I cried from the moment I got in my car all the way back to the IPW building.
He was still crying.
And I still cry because I felt like I did some good on this earth. Like, I'm not a horrible person. But to know that somebody benefited from my kindness meant the world to me. For you and the Windy City Ghostbusters to do what you did, not just raise toys, but donations and funds. Like, bro, people don't get that there's a sick kid sitting in that hospital and he'd rather be at home unwrapping his toys and his family can't afford it. And you guys gave him 2, 3 toys. That is more than any paycheck, any contract. People don't get it. I have learned to respect you. I have become to love you as a wrestler, but more importantly, as a man. I am greatly humbled and privileged to say that I know Steve Michaels. I can call him my friend. And he is one of the best humans out there. So I thank you. I love you.
Thank you so much. That I've nothing but the utmost respect for you, Red, and that means a lot. Look, I'm very grateful and blessed in this life, um, to have what I need, to have everything I need to survive. I've got a great family. I've got a house. I've got a car. Um, so to be able to give back and to give to those that don't have as much, to give to those that need, uh, that just need a coat, you know, I'm humbled to do it. Um, and if I'm able to do a little bit of good work on this planet before I go, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the opportunities that Windy City Ghostbusters and wrestling has given me, because I can tell you this, you know, a lot of people underestimate the platform that we have as wrestlers, as talent, as announcers. We have people following us on social media. We have fans. We have, you know, people that hang on our every words. So if I'm able to use my platform to raise the awareness for this, I'm able to use my platform to raise awareness for social justice issues, like, I'll do it in a heartbeat, no matter what.
You are a man that bestows hope upon the hopeless in many cases. And if that's not something to be proud of in life, then I don't know what is. And that is what you do. And that is what I appreciate the most. Now, this Saturday night, St. Joe's Park, Joliet, Illinois, Rocket Pro Wrestling presents Spring Break. Steve Michaels, Aaron Stone do it one more time, the rematch for the Rocket Pro Wrestling title. And there are a lot of, there it is. There's the richest prize in the game right here on display. Now,
Yeah,
I don't,
it's the best title going today. And
and
prove
it
me wrong.
looks good on your shoulder too. Now, I don't want this to come off as petulant, petty, or condescending, but I have a little bit of a situation that I'm dealing with this Saturday in Joliet myself, as far as Joey Roth and Roxy Hart. And they have been known to create shenanigans. And they did it to us the last time. I imagine they're going to do it to us this time. And it seems that the idols and the undeniable have a bit of a common interest when it comes to Rocket Pro Wrestling. I love you. I respect you as a man. I am impressed and in awe of you as an athlete and a performer. However, if the undeniable decides that they are going to involve themselves in this tornado tag match, and if at some point you and I should go face to face, I'm not going to see you as my friend. not going to see you as a man that I love or respect. I'm going to see you as a threat. And it's going to, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I sign off on whatever happens. If I get destroyed, that is what it is. But I don't wrestle like you do, but I'm a man and I'll fight. So if Damian Saint decides to unleash the beast to give Joey and Roxy the advantage, I am not going to shrink in a corner and cower like an announcer. I will face you like a man.
You know, I have no issues with you, Steve, but
Oh,
if I am given the instructions by the general manager, I got to listen to my boss. And it's not personal, it's strictly business. And I just want you to understand that.
On that, we can agree. It is business. And it's all going down this Saturday at St. Joe's Park, Rocket Pro Wrestling. Steve Michaels, you have been a magnificent guest. You are a magnificent performer and a better man. And we thank you for being here on our show tonight and staying much longer than the advertised hour. So
Hey, I'm glad I got to be on here. Can I just really quick say something?
please,
Uh, uh, and this is to PX actually.
there he is,
Uh,
our friend.
uh, you know, I want to pull the curtain back a little bit, if I may.
right.
I have watched PX go from a fan to an actual integral part behind the scenes of RPW. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to cross the barricade and get the respect of the boys, let alone become an actual part of the crew. Uh, so I just want to tip my hat to you publicly and let you know that you've done a hell of a job to get to where you need to be.
That means a lot coming from you. I really do appreciate that, Steve.
Absolutely.
That might be the nicest thing that anybody has ever said to PX on any podcast ever, because Travis treats you like garbage. That's a whole topic for another time. Steve, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. We'll see you Saturday. I hope I just don't see too much of you.
I'll see you there.
All right. That is the one and only Rocket Pro Wrestling champ. That is Steve Michaels, the master of the Chicago Bear Hug. He will take on Aaron Stone this Saturday night in Joliet. If you haven't gotten a ticket yet, you better get it, because there's a reason he's on WGN. There's a reason he's at OVW, Impact, here, there, and everywhere. Come see him while you can, because eventually you're going to have to pay $100 a ticket to see him. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. I love that dude. But I'm afraid that bad things are going to happen, because there's no way Joey and Roxy are going to be able to beat me and Shelly one-on-one. It just doesn't happen. The only reason he got an advantage on us the last time and every other time is because he has his goon squad come out. And Damian Saint is just a prick to invoke the undeniable to kind of mess us up so Joey and Roxy can get their goddamn belts back. I want to give him his belt back. I hate carrying this thing around. It's a tinfoil title for a man with a massive ego.
Just give it back.
At this point, he wants it back, so that's why I don't want to give it to him. I want him to take it. But if he takes it, he'll have to pry it out of my cold, dead hand. And if the undeniable is part of the equation, that may come to fruition this Saturday. In the double main event, we've got the final level versus the Kings of Six. Red, you and I have talked about this time and time again. There are just some tag teams that the final level, with COVID and flu symptoms and perhaps a heart murmur, could still walk through. I don't know a version of the universe where August and our buddy, the Michael Myers fearer, can match up against the final level and win. I don't see it. Skylar's got no. Skylar's scared of his own shadow at this point, for God's sake. Red, what do you see in the second half of the double main event?
See, the problem is
The undeniable.
the undeniables. So I'm glad Steve is gone. So we can really
now we
talk
gotta talk some shit.
It ain't so much shit.
I'm
It's
talking
just,
shit. That bastard choke slams women. That's no good.
hey, they asked for it.
Kay did not ask for shit.
Well, no, she did. But so
Sure, that's
if
enough.
we're being honest, if this is 2-on-2, nobody else, then we both know it's the final level. The problem is, again, one, J-Back and his cult-like following to Damian Saint.
It's weird.
But if Saint decides to come down with Michaels, then I'm not sure. Because that's like then having 8-on-2.
Do you feel the same way about the championship match? It's Aaron Stone versus the Do you feel the same way about that? Do you feel like Steve Michaels +8 versus the Dream Breaker?
No, because again, so we both know there's a reason, like he won that on his own. He won it on his own. We've got to admit. So to defend it, see, the difference is now Stone has to beat him. Michaels doesn't have to beat Stone.
100%.
Stone has to beat him. And that's where the bar now is raised. Aaron Stone, can you beat the master of the Chicago Bear Hug? That's the question. So I'm picking Michaels in that one versus, again, I would like to see a night without shenanigans, but that's just me.
That very, very rarely are we going to have a shenanigan-less show. What else we have on that card? PX, start throwing some matches up there so we can, not that I don't love this photo 100%, but start throwing some match graphics so we can analyze this before we go. The high stakes contract signing. What the fuck is happening here?
Hosted by Wildcard.
I don't know everything about this business like some do. Tell me a little background on Wildcard.
I just know he's a character out of Fortnite. I read the thing like you read.
Okay. So I thought you had some knowledge about it. Fortnite, I've played it a couple of times. I am no expert. So the Fortnite world continues to cross over to Rocket Pro, which I think is hilarious. And the young fans in the crowd when the Black Knight came out, I'm pretty sure some moms and dads had to go change some soiled drawers because they shit themselves. There were little kids shitting themselves all over the place. It was amazing. So we've got a contract signing, and then we have this match. Now, this match, to me, might be match of the night. And here's why. You've got Koa, who has many axes to grind. The man has not had a clean match, a fair match in any of the matches at Rocket Pro, as far as I'm concerned. And then you've got Christian Rose, who has got family problems, but can sometimes be the dirtiest player in the game. I think this match is a banger. What do you think, Red?
I think this match is a draw.
All right, well, how do you get that?
But I said, but Christian Rose has come to show us he is cuckoo
For Cocoa Puffs.
without a clock. I see him doing something so dastardly he gets DQ.
That's a hot take.
I mean, just
You think the
like,
Coyotes factor into this match at all?
why? Everybody looked at him like he was crazy at the last show.
What
right?
about Bucky?
But see, we don't know. So
Right.
again, is Bucky pulling these strings? You know, here's an interesting take. What if Bucky is taking over the Coyotes?
I don't want to go that deep into it. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, Red. Nobody wants that.
I do. I don't want it, but who do you trust? The devil you know or the devil you don't?
That is a
Clearly, Rose has been one that they thought they knew and they know no longer.
Yeah, it's going to be a match. It's going to happen, and people are going to talk about it when it's done. What else we got, Pac-Man? The rock star Johnny Nye, the patron son of St. Joe's Park, taking on the Greaser and Mr. Clean. Gotta love that, man. Why are we making handicap matches? What is the general manager doing? Where the hell is Turtle to police all this shit?
It's safe. I mean, come on now.
But same for GM. Turtle's gotta be available for this kind of shit.
I don't know. There's got to be a reason why Turtle let this one slide past. I have no idea. None.
Get that photo off that screen. I don't need to be that.
Please.
I don't need to be that close to the reptile. I don't know how Johnny wins this match. I mean, it's a handicap match, and despite my disdain for Gray and Cade, they're talented wrestlers. I mean, Red, firsthand how hard they hit.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of agree with you. If this match goes off the way it's scheduled to, I mean, you have to think about the endurance part. That the idols are gonna be able to tag in and out, catch their breath. Johnny is gonna be looking in 3 other corners. And there's nobody there for him.
Nobody at all. If Gray wasn't such a prick, I think he'd be one of my favorite wrestlers. But I just can't get past his assholery, shall we say.
There we go.
All right. So have we covered the whole card? I feel like we've covered most of it. We've covered the main event with Oh yeah. Eric Schultz gonna have a bad night. Gonna have a bad night. Like a real bad night. Like the worst night of his life. That ass kicking he's gonna feel that ass kicking weeks after the match. There aren't many people in this business that can walk in the rarefied air of the generational treasure.
Hold on. Wait. Pause. Pax. What was you doing with Schultz?
Yeah. Okay. So I explained this actually yesterday on.
Are you a part of the undeniable?
Nope. So.
Oh my God!
And this is going
There's
to
a traitor in our midst.
Nope. I will explain it just like I explained it yesterday on JFW. So, you know how Jay Beck likes his thin mints, right? So he had thought that in the Constitution, and this is an amendment, the quartering amendment about quartering soldiers meant to do with quarters because he's been running out of money from buying all the cookies from the Girl Scouts. So Eric Schultz, knowing that I have my degree in political science, came to me and asked me, okay, what does this exactly mean? Because he's trying to basically, clarify to J-Beck that that's not at all what it means. So He brought his constitution that he keeps in his briefcase. We looked through the amendment.
That
and
idiot keeps the Constitution in his briefcase?
Hey, I'm not the one. I'm not the holder of the briefcase.
We officially have Red's first time out. Red, go ahead.
Facts.
Yes, sir.
Forget I even asked. As soon as you said J-Beck, never mind.
The fact that they involved you in this shenanigan because you're a political science major makes me want to vomit on my shoes. That man does not have a constitution in his briefcase.
He does. Well, he did that day.
I don't believe it.
He printed it out from like
I'm not-
Wikipedia.
This ain't even about Schultz. It's about J-Beck. Really? Do we need to even? Shaq wins this match, hands down. If you disagree, speak on it.
Shaq could break his leg and still win this match. Shaq could be in a wheelchair and still win this match. There's again, the flashpoint, the multiverse. Doesn't matter where you are in dimensions. There's no winner. Even Robert Downey Jr. had more than a better chance. When Doctor Strange went like this, there's no way Schultz wins this match. It's impossible. There are just some things that are inevitable: death, taxes, and Shaq whipping Schultz's ass. What else we got?
That is all for Rocket Pro.
That is all. And I of course, am involved in a Texas tornado match. Having never been in a Texas tornado match, I just want to get in there and beat the snot out of Joey Roth. I don't care what happens otherwise. I just want to beat him. The fact that there are no rules is great because I'm going to get in that ring and he's going to walk out of the curtain. I'm just going to go beat his ass. That's all this is. I don't care about titles. I don't care about victories. I don't care about leaving a mess. I just want to beat this man to the point where he can no longer return to Joliet. That is my one mission objective. And now Red's gone because Red doesn't like to talk about Joey Roth. So, kids, come to Rocket Pro Wrestling this Saturday night at St. Joe's Park. Pax will be there. C-Red will be there. I'll be there. Steve Michaels, of course, will be there. And a splendid time is guaranteed for all. I hope the tribal liaison will be there so we can acknowledge the head of the podcast because we do acknowledge him. Let's talk a little bit about the knockouts. We had the first minors event of the 2024 calendar year. And I just want to tell you, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There are young people ranging from the age of, I've got to say like 6 or 7, all the way up to 17. There are 2 different divisions, the younger kids, the older kids. These kids work their asses off. I mean, they work their asses off. The little kids are still learning how to skate, and they are running around like they are knockouts, not like they're knockouts. They're knockouts. The quality of entertainment from the premier to the minors, it's the same. It's the same thing, and the place was packed. 300 plus. I mean, that there was not a seat available. And it was just such a great night for these kids. And I feel so happy for these kids. And these kids feel seen and they feel heard and they feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And that is what you need as a young person to find your place in this world. You need a place where you can go and you can have a creative outlet and be seen and heard. And the coaches provide all of that. And it's such a well-organized product. We had such a great time. And when the older kids got in there, there was some violence. There were some elbows. Sweet Tooth hit the wall after being forced out of bounds at like 65 miles an hour. There were hard hits everywhere. I mean, they're just, I can't, I come on here all the time and I talk about how good the knockouts are. And people, Steve, you work there, you're biased. It's not about bias. It's about fact and watching everything unfold as I do. And these kids, these little skaters, work so damn hard. I'm just so proud to be a part of it. And I'm just so proud to watch them get the accolades that they deserve, because it just is so amazing. And if Rachel were here, she would be able to give you more of an account. Being the bell babe and a scorekeeper, she had many hats she wore on Saturday night. But up there is Lunala. That, of course, is Rachel's daughter. We've had her on this show. She is the first minor guest we have ever had. And I think I'd like to do a show down the road with some of the minors coming in and getting their first podcast experience, because she was charming and she was throwing elbows and she got hurt. She sustained an injury. The medic, Invader Zoom, had to help her out. I mean, there were injuries that, it's going around in a circle at 35 miles an hour on skates. There's a danger to it that unless you do it, you don't understand it. And these kids were just so darn into it and great. And, the fans gave them all the love in the world. The next Knockouts bout is April 20th. That's the Premier League. The kids come back in June. So again, I said it once, said it 100 times. Come out and see the Knockouts. You'll be glad you did. If you don't see them, go on Facebook to Greg Meltzer's page, and you can see shots from the show. And I want to shout out to the coaches, Coach Euro, Coach Grumpy, Coach Marley, and Coach Punchline, Coach Angel and Coach Decadent, Coach Lazorderly, and Coach Sugar. I had a chance to talk with Coach Sugar for a while after the show, and her little one, Rebel, was just incredibly dynamic that night. And I know how proud Coach Marley is, and how proud Coach Euro are, because they have kids that are on the team as well. It's the next generation, and the moms are passing on their passion to their children, and I think that's a noble pursuit, and I will support it till my dying breath. So check out the Knockouts. It was spectacular. All right, we got a few minutes left. Let's talk WrestleMania. Cody, and there he is. There's the tribal liaison. I acknowledge him. He is the head of the podcast. And he looks good with that hair. I'm going to suggest a wig. He's got to talk to Renee about getting a weave. I knew I'd get you with that one.
Wow.
Just don't ever show her this segment. That's all I'm asking. I don't want to get killed. WrestleMania. I have been watching all the talk, all the opinions, all the reactions on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on X. Everybody's got an opinion about this show. The haters hate it. The fans love it. Whether you're a hater or a fan, you cannot deny the spectacle that it was. There have been some WrestleManias I've really enjoyed, and there have been some WrestleManias that haven't been very good. I can safely say that from a sheer spectacle standpoint, I'm not necessarily saying all the matches and all the matchups and everything like that, but from a sheer spectacle and from a storytelling standpoint, this might have been the best WrestleMania. What they say, I mean, they say it every year, this is the best WrestleMania ever. And maybe they're building something to a crescendo. I don't know. But this felt big to me. And it looked big. And, the crowds were immense. And the spectacle over the weekend, from SmackDown to the Hall of Fame to NXT to the pre-show to night one, then on to night two. It just felt big. It felt big. And it looked big. And that last match of night two took elements of storytelling to a different level, in my opinion. And I've watched people crucify it. It was dumb. It was stupid. Every nuance that they have been working through for the past 2 years came to fruition. And even take that back longer. My favorite moment of the match was not even Cody winning the title. It was that moment where Roman had the chair and he was good. He could have gone after Cody, but he hit Seth in the Shield gear, taking it back to the original story that Roman Reigns was created because of what Seth Rollins did. And they said it in promos. I blame myself for what he's become. There's no one better to be your shield than me. From that promo to that moment, that is as good as storytelling gets, because that shot on Seth Rollins led to Cody getting the victory. He did everything he said he was going to do. And I'm not always Seth Rollins' biggest fan, but I think the MVP of the night, both nights, might be Seth Rollins. That dude can tell a story, and that dude can work. And that dude wasn't even 50%. And he competed like a boss 2 nights. So I don't think he's getting nearly enough props for his role and how good this story was, but I saw it and I popped. And I will always be a person that when John Cena shows up and The Rock shows up
Well,
and
okay.
Taker shows up,
Okay.
when shit was going down and Solo Sikoa was getting over and it looked like it was going to be the same old thing, and Cena showed up out of nowhere, I popped. When the boss came out to do his boss stuff, and you give credit to The Rock, the final boss, this shit elevated everything. It would have been great without it, but it was even better with it. And when the lights went out, and well, first of all, when The Rock and Cena stood face to face, got chills, man. Not gonna lie, that was awesome. And then when the lights go out, and The Rock is standing face to face with the Taker, that's WrestleMania. These are moments we'll talk about all year. That's dumb. He didn't do anything. Blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. We can like what we want. Doesn't matter who. I like shit in AEW too. You like what you like. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. Don't watch it. You like what you like. I can find good stuff everywhere. Since I've been doing NWA, I've been watching a lot more of it. It's great. Their characters are fantastic. Fucking Joe Alonzo.
Just won the NWA Junior Heavyweight title.
That dude is a fucking boss, and he's from here. That dude should be on the biggest stages of all. That dude has all the talent and can talk on the mic. And I love working with him. He's a fucking great dude. Trevor Murdoch. Did you watch the Harley race, Dark Side of the Ring?
Yes.
Or the bio, whatever. It wasn't Dark Side. It was the bio, wasn't it?
Oh, it was the Dark Side.
It was Dark
Okay,
Side.
did
I
you watch
watched
that
it
shit?
too.
Did you watch that shit?
I did.
Yeah.
One of the best parts of that fucking thing was Trevor Murdoch telling stories. That dude is fucking great. So, NWA, some people don't like it. I think it's great. Impact, some people don't like it. I think it's great. WWE, taught a master class in storytelling. And, we can only hope that this new era that they talk about continues to put out interesting stuff, because that's what we want. Red, you had to have loved it, right?
The storytelling, of course. Let's be honest. Years ago, we wouldn't have gotten this.
No. Years ago, we
so-
wouldn't have. They wouldn't have pivoted because the fans didn't like it.
But that, and we'll find out more about that tomorrow night if you watch the WrestleMania 40 bio on Peacock. I don't know why I said that. It's not like I'm getting paid for it. Um,
I thought maybe you were bringing Peacock in as a sponsor.
if I wish. But I agree. We probably wouldn't have. But with that being said, everything changed. And I was shocked by, I think, the biggest moment. Again, like you said, it was like I saw the Jimmy and Jay thing coming, of course. Just didn't expect them to go through a table.
That looked like the hardest bump because I thought they missed. I thought they overshot the table and hit the floor.
I thought it was foam padding, honestly. Like I was like, okay, this is right by the pyro, so they're not gonna take any chances, you know. No, it was a wooden table and they went straight through that.
Man,
Um,
that was the worst. That was one of the, and there were some fierce bumps that night.
Yeah, but then you go back to then Solo comes out. So again, the waterfall starts to happen again. I forgot about Solo taking out Cena. So once his music hit, then it, and Michael Cole and everybody did a great job reminding us of why it was Cena. It was like, okay, the final boss.
Can we give Michael Cole some props?
Oh, dude has gotten much better throughout the years.
That dude. And at the moment, at the end, when he said, "I love wrestling," I think he caught the moment for everybody, and that's what good commentators do. So, Michael Cole,
Well, not just that, but I think
top of the food
again,
chain.
when you're invested in somebody that you know and you genuinely care about, like, dude, I saw today people shitting on Samantha Irvine.
They need to shut the fuck up. She has
And
elevated herself to star status.
for me, again, she's the ring announcer, right? But she was so caught in the moment.
You could hear it in her voice.
Heard it.
And that's what you were feeling. We were all feeling it.
Right. And it was just like, how can you not? And even for Cody to acknowledge that last night on Raw, like, it was real. And I made a post. People don't understand unless you've ever been to Philly and performed in Philly. Philly is fucking brutal. Dude, like that shit that happened with The Rock last night, that's Philly. If there is no middle of the line with with Philly. There's no middle of the line. Either they're gonna like you or they're gonna hate you.
But you know what? You're right about that. But when Rock came out, they chanted Rocky and they gave him a bit of respect. And then when he started talking, they Phillied the shit out of him.
Dude, and I was like, people don't get it. Like, I had heard that my whole life. So to go to Philly when we went, our first night, and wonder, are they gonna cheer us? Or are they gonna boo the shit out of us? And I had a good friend today comment and said, we won the crowd over. Yeah, thank God. Had no idea how that was gonna go. But so that whole waterfall then, Taker, Rock turning around, choke slam, lights go out, everybody's out the ring. Okay. My personal WrestleMania moment was not the main event.
Ooh, I've been waiting to hear this. Go ahead.
It was the opening match. And it wasn't so much the match, but Drew, again, Triple H kind of talked about it during the press conference. Again, Drew was so fixated on Punk to the point he did what he said he was going to do. He got in his face. He stood above him with the title. He talked shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to believe what happened next was a little Chicago. Like,
Well, it was
you
a lot
only
of Chicago.
you only gonna talk shit in our face so much
Then
before
we're
we
gonna put,
go
then we're
ahead,
gonna put you on your ass.
you know. So he grabs his legs, he falls, takes off his coat, takes off the arm protector, and beats the shit out of Drew, right? And you think, okay, and I've called this for months.
Yeah.
I've called it and told everybody Damian Priest was cashing in. Drew was gonna win.
I didn't think
wanted
Drew. I didn't think Drew was going to win. I thought Seth was going to win, and he was going to be so hurt that he was going to be cherry picked with the Money in the Bank by Priest. But this was so much better.
But what would that have done?
No, this makes so much more sense. Plus, now the Drew rivalry with Punk is main event must see shit.
It is, but for the simple fact, you could have just left. I just saw somebody else's post. He didn't, he could have stood there 10 feet away. He could have stood in the ring. Show Punk, I won the title, right?
Went right in his face and just tried to take liberties. When
And
you take
then
liberties, Chicago's going to take liberties right back.
he talked shit last night. And what happens? Okay, he getting ready to Claymore, Jay. Punk was like, no, not tonight. And a simple, I'm gonna hold your foot. I'm gonna hold your foot. Long enough, he loses again. And it's like, oh, I love this story.
Yeet.
And again, yeet. So, if nothing else, they told great stories. And we have
All of
missed that so much. Every match,
Gunther and Zayn, great story.
dude, so once upon a time I knew Sammy too. But I was rooting, but I didn't think it was gonna happen. I did not think it was gonna happen.
You had to give Philly a Rocky story. They've been building the Rocky story the entire time. You had Chad Gable as Apollo Creed.
Dude, but to know that the work Gunther has put in, because now the question, what happens to Gunther? Yes,
I think Gunther's going for the main title against Uso.
that's the Sami Zayn that I know.
Yeah.
So, again, they hooked, and I told people here's the biggest thing, and I'm sure both of y'all will agree. We can maybe start wrapping this up.
Yep.
Remember when you used to pay $70 for fucking WrestleMania?
Yep. 100%.
Like, doesn't it feel good now that you only pay $9.95 a month?
And I think it's going to get better than that, because I think when their contract expires next year on Peacock, they're going to wind up on Netflix just like Raw is. I think all their shit's going to wind up on Netflix.
But I hope if it does, the unedited versions show up.
Oh, I think once you're on Netflix, you have carte blanche to do what you want. I mean, yeah, they'll still nod toward the family friendly in certain areas, but when they need cinematic opus and they need and I think they want to go back there. I think that's what this is all about.
Well, again, for
They
me,
can't go back there like they did, but I think they want it to be a little more edgy. I think that's what this whole era is about. They still want it to be family friendly, but they want it to have a bit of an edge. That's why you got Rock dropping F-bombs all over the place.
no, that was Heyman on Friday night.
Well, Heyman told you all to suck a dick. So, and can we not agree that the world is better with Paul Heyman in it?
Dude, but again, and I've said it here. People don't grasp. Paul Heyman at one time was the booker for Windy City. That made me love Paul Heyman from jump.
And you just
Again,
made a perfect segue for me. So thank you.
I did. Go ahead. What's the
Yeah.
second?
Next week on the Power Hour, the final Windy City champion is going to be on this show. At least that's what he told me.
Fuck is that?
DTA. He's going to be on this show, Red. He wants to talk to you.
So you want me to spend an hour, a half hour and a half roasting this dude?
He has wanted to be on this show for a long time. And we finally had the slot. And with the Bill Robinette Classic, with Windy City being, so in the forefront of all that was going on there, it seemed like the perfect time to bring DTA on the show. So next week, it's the Windy City edition of the Power Hour. So Red, you better come correct, because you're dealing with champion. You're dealing with the final champion, which kind of makes him like the final boss.
Nah. Nah. And we'll get into that next week. Nah.
Well, thank the master of the Chicago Bear Hug, Steve Michaels, for being an extraordinary guest and doing it at the last minute for us, which means the world. So thank you, Steve. I want to thank Pac-Man, because Steve brought up a very interesting point and gave you some flowers, young man, and you deserve them. Whatever Rocket Pro needs, you do. We wanted to shoot a promo. You're the first man that volunteered to shoot the promo for us. Your work ethic and your love for Rocket Pro does not go unnoticed. And he's right. You've earned the respect of everybody in that building, everybody in that locker room, and you are a big part of Rocket Pro. And it gets glossed over sometimes, but it matters to me, and I thank you for all you do.
I appreciate that from both of you guys. I think that was something I needed to hear today. So, and I really do appreciate it. I just want to do the best job I can to help the Shelleys and Kevin and everybody in the back just put on the best show possible. And I'm just so blessed with all the opportunities that I've been able to have, and all the learning trees I've been able to sit under. I've learned so much, and I've said it on here before. And I'm going to continue to learn, and I'm going to continue to grow. And I want to shoot to be like a Swiss Army knife for back a house. And that's what I'm going for right now.
And that's what Steve was saying about Rocket Pro in general. Everybody working together at whatever level to be a team and to be a family. And that's what makes Rocket Pro special. Boys, it's been a great show. Thanks, Red, for coming back. I'm glad that you were here. Means the world to me that you are. Next week, DTA is our guest. Thanks for watching the Power Hour. And you're not going to want to miss next week. If Red's coming in shooting, woo! You're going to love that. We'll see you next week, gang. Have a good night, and see you Saturday at the park. Come on out and watch. You know you want to. Good night, everybody.